All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to part two of how to make $20,000 from writing a single email. This section is going to be all about how to do it. I guess hypothetically, you could skip right to this part. Wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend watching like the 10-minute video before this, part one, where I kind of go over what this is and exactly how it works. Excuse me, and exactly how it works and kind of why businesses would pay $20,000. This section is going to be more about how to do it and how to make money from these emails and how to make it a part of your annual kind of profit and how to write one email to make a lot of money. So yeah, go back, watch that. Otherwise, this section won't really make sense if you haven't already watched it. So like I said, the name of this is how to write a single email and make 20 grand. So what I would typically do, I have, if you remember my scenario from the first video, I have person A who's kind of involved in this little triangle who has an offer that is working on cold traffic and they want to run it on email and they have a budget for their email. I get in touch with them and I say, hey, if we can get this thing to hit on cold email traffic, will you pay me a $5,000 a month bonus for every month that we are net profitable? And they say, yep, sure. The very first thing I do before anything else, I'm going to start researching the product. I'm going to start writing emails. Excuse me one sec. Got to wet my whistle. So the first thing I'll do, I'll take the product, I'll do a little bit of research, and then I'll come up with 4 different creative angles on the body of the email. So my first angle might be a success story or the discovery story or some type of story email that I think is interesting about this product that I think will sell well. I'll write one angle like that. The next one is contrarian email, which kind of flies in the face of what's popular. So let's just say this is a weight loss example, weight loss product, for example. The story could be a success story. It could be a discovery story. It could be kind of like a conspiracy story. There's a lot of different story angles in there. I would probably start with a success story, as that's kind of like the most proven and kind of like sure thing. So I'm going to write a success story email. Let's just say I'm going to write a contrarian email. So if it's a weight loss email, I'm going to say, hey, this common way to lose weight is actually wrong. What I'm selling is actually right. For example, I might use some research about, let's say high intensity interval training is actually not a great way to lose weight. Because of XYZ. Obviously, like back these up with research. I'm just kind of flying off the top of my head here. A contrarian email. The point being, it just kind of flies in the face of what everyone in the space thinks is the right way to do something. This says the opposite. These emails tend to work really well for me because they catch the attention of people and they just kind of stand out like a sore thumb because people are so used to hearing keto is the best way to lose weight or fasting is the best way to lose weight or vegan is the best way to lose weight. If you're saying like those things aren't actually that good and there's something else that's better, you're going to catch a lot of attention, get a lot of eyeballs on these emails. Basically use the principles that I've in this phase, where this writing phase, I'm basically going to use the principles that Jared and I outline in this course. So you kind of got that covered in the other videos, but basically write 4 emails, 4 different angles, 1 story, 1 contrarian email. I'm not going to get into the weeds too much. One that I called clickbait when I wrote this, which is really just like a curiosity kind of email that gets you really like fired up and wants you to click. Like, what the heck is this guy talking about? The clickbait ones, which I don't really like that term, kind of implies that it's like useless, where you always want to be providing like good value and good information. So I'll probably change that right now. Curiosity. I always have problems like spelling curiosity. Curiosity. Damn it. Curiosity kind of based email that is just really interesting and kind of drives the click. If you're looking for a tip for looking for kind of a way to write the curiosity email, start with native ads. Native ads always have a lot of like good curiosity angles to them, and they get people to click just from like a one line in a picture type of thing. So you're kind of writing an email in that vein. Then do something topical with, kind of whatever's trending right now. So in the health space, weight loss is what we're talking about. So think of what's topical in the weight loss space and then kind of talk about that. or think of someone who is topical or some type of like current events thing, and just kind of talk about that. So yeah, that's phase one is write 4 different angles, kind of like the way we teach in this course. If you need help writing the actual emails, because I mean, this is the most important part. I know it's like sounds like a super sexy title for a bonus video, but the reality is this is like a pretty advanced thing. Customer acquisition is definitely the hardest thing to do. Writing emails that can acquire customers and cold traffic is not easy. If it was, I wouldn't be making this video. I would be retired somewhere and, you know, just kind of enjoying the fruits of my labor. So while I have been successful at this, it's not easy, and it's not just like something that you can just do like clockwork always. I mean, if you can, that's great. I'm sure some people can. The point is like it takes a decent amount of work, and it takes a certain level of proficiency in the email to be able to do this and do it well. So make sure you really kind of like understand the points of this course, and like go through it again and really get the writing part down, because as sexy as this whole like bonus segment is, it really, the success or failure will hinge on your ability to write freaking good emails, which you should be able to do just from watching this course. All right. So moving on past my little rant there, there's 4 different creative angles that I've written. What I'm going to do, and this is where this is an optional step, but it's also ideal. If you have a house list, I'm going to take my 4 emails, and I'm going to take the house list, break it into 4 parts, and send each quarter of the list one of the emails. Now, what'll probably happen is 1 email will stand out above the rest, or 2 emails will stand out head and shoulders above the other 2. There will usually be 1 in the last, and you know there will be a winner usually. If all 4 emails perform exactly the same, write an email and let me know, because I've never seen that before, and it would be quite cool to check out the stats on that. So after our little initial test on the 4 creative angles, let's say we've got 1 winner and it's the story. I will probably write 4 more. I mean, you could do this for infinity. I mean, you could test forever, but you don't want to kind of get stuck in that loop. I would. There's 2 things I would do. I would either write 2 more or 3 more story kind of angles, because we know stories like work really well with this. And then I would test those. So now I've got my control story email from the first test, and I've got 3 new variants. Maybe one's shorter, maybe one's really long, maybe one's completely different story, maybe one reveals a product, one doesn't. I mean, there's a bunch of different variants you can do. If you want to kind of get a better idea of how to set up the test, watch the segment Jared and I did with Dan Ferrari. He talks about T-testing. You've kind of got to kind of use his template there. You've got 1 angle that works, and that's the story. So I would basically test deeper on that story, just with different stories or different kind of variations of your winning story. After that, let's say the control still won and it was head and shoulders above the rest. So we've got our story, which has been tested a couple different ways. First, it was tested against different angles, and then it was tested against different stories and different types of story emails. So we've got a solid email body. At this point, I would test the subject line. So I would write 4 different subject lines on that. Again, we did a whole segment on how to test subject lines, so go watch that. If you're unsure of how to set up a subject line test, that video will be pretty groundbreaking for you. So I would test the subject line, I would test the from name, I would test images, and then I would kind of call it there. So, I mean, that's a lot of tests. You could probably get away with just a subject line test and a body test. I mean, ideally you test all those different variables, but it's not really necessary. I think the biggest lever you're going to get, because you don't always have control of these lists where you can include all the pieces, is your subject line and also your image. So you want to test the image and the subject line. So at that point, you've got an email that has been tested on your house list a couple times and it is doing well. Remember, this is a perfect scenario. If I could do this perfectly, this is how I would do it. I've got an email body that is an angle that is battle tested on the house list. I've got a subject line that is battle tested, and I've got an image that is battle tested. Remember, my offer already converts on cold traffic. I am now ready to roll this thing out to cold traffic. So this is when I'm going to do some networking. I'm going to reach out in the direct response marketing partners group and say, hey, I've got this offer that is in the weight loss space, that is doing well on email. I want to buy your list. Please contact me. I've got money to buy the list. This is when, if you're the copywriter who wrote this and tested this and set up all these tests, this is when you're going to work with person A to kind of set up their budget and see how much traffic they want to throw at this. In the first video, I said 100 grand. That was just an example for math. Let's say, your client you're doing this with, you're kind of like partnered with them at this point. You've invested a lot of kind of upfront work. You've written them an email. They've made money on their house list from just testing and sending this email. Remember, every test you do, they're making money on their house list and you haven't got paid yet. So this is really going to cover a lot of their costs. So let's say they want to spend 20 grand to see how this thing performs. Your goal is to make them back 25 grand. And you say, okay, if this email that we've tested, if you spend $20,000 on traffic and it makes 25, you pay me a 5 grand bonus. And you're going to have acquired $25,000 worth of customers for free, essentially, which is a pretty freaking sweet gift. I mean, it's better than any Christmas present you could get someone, birthday present you can get someone. So as a business owner, they should be jumping at that. It's literally no cost to them upfront besides the testing. And I mean, if you're kind of monitoring that and you're tight with the budget, you're going to do pretty damn well, I think. So let me just recap that all in my head. You've written the email, you've tested the email, you've now started reaching out to partners, you've got a budget, and you've got a deal established where you're saying, hey, if you spend 20 grand and I make you 25, you pay me a $5,000 bonus for this. You can set that up however you want. You could say, hey, if we send this email, if you've got a 20 grand budget and you say, hey, if you send this email and it makes 30 grand, I get 10. It makes 40 grand, I get 20. Maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't. This is on you to kind of like figure out the structure of this deal. The way I usually do it is, hey, if you've got 20 grand to spend, or if you've got 100 grand to spend and it makes 105, you pay me a 5 grand bonus. And then we'll do the same thing next month. If it does the same thing next month, same thing. I think that's kind of the best way to do it, the simplest way to do it. To complicate things even further, some people might say, hey, it's worth it to me. I'll spend, if I spend 20 grand and I only make 15 back. Okay, this example is going to might not make sense, but there might be some businesses who are able to do this just because they know the lifetime value of their customer, and they know how much each customer is worth to them, and they know they can make double their money on every customer they acquire. So if some companies may even say, hey, if I spend 20 grand on traffic and I make 10 back, that's fine. I'll even pay you, for this example, if I spend 20 grand on traffic and I make 15 back, I'm golden. So I'll even pay you 5 grand for that, because my customers are worth so much on the back end that I can afford to take a 50% loss on them on day 1, and I'll make that back by day 30. So it really depends on how much each customer is worth to the business. I mean, for kind of simplicity's sake, I typically say, hey, if you more than break even by $5,000 bonus, because that way you'll be exactly break even on day 0, which is pretty damn good. Not a lot of direct response companies are doing that. And I'll get a bonus still. So that's kind of what I'll shoot for. So let's get into our example using kind of the thing that I said. Let's say we've got a budget of $25,000 and we're going to buy 5 lists. So this is an example. These numbers are nice and round just for simplicity's sake. And I'll probably go over this a couple times just to make sure it's nice and clear. So we're going to buy 5 lists. List A costs $5,000. List B costs $1,500. List C costs $3,000. List D costs $4,000. List E costs $10,000. So our total, we're not going to spend our whole budget. Our budget is now going to be $23,500. The deal is, if the email I wrote for company A makes them $28,500, I will get a $5,000 bonus. That's the deal I set up, where there's a million different scenarios, a million different deals we could do. That's the deal I set up with this one. I've wrote an email. We've tested it. I've tested the subject lines. I've tested the images. This email I think is ready. Let's send it to 5 lists. So we send it to our 5 lists. We wait a while. We get the data back. This is what we made. List A, we spent 5. We made 7.5, which is pretty damn good. So we made $2,500 profit. On list B, we spent $1,500 and we made $2,750. So I made $1,250. List C, we spent $3,000 and we only made $2,900. So we lost $100 there. But that's okay. List D was a great value. We spent $4,000, we made $11,000, and list E we spent $10,000 and we made $3,000. So this is a dream scenario for the copywriter. I worked my butt off. We tested this email every which way through Sunday, and it played out really well on the 5 list rollout we did. We made almost $1,400 here. So I'm getting my $5,000 bonus because I only needed to be in the green or in the black $5,000, and we ended up being in the black $13,000. Everybody wins in this scenario. Now, you might be thinking, okay, what happens if this comes back and we only make, $17,000 and we're $5,000 short? Well, it happens. It kind of happens, and you're going into this. The person A knows the risk. You dialed the email in as best you could. They lost a bit of money on the front end, almost about $6,000. Chances are they made $6,000 through this phase where you're writing and testing the emails. If not, they're going to have that email. Remember, you're only getting paid if you made, $28,000, $28.5 So you're not technically getting paid on this, which is why you're taking the risk. And you did only write one email, and it happens. But the ideal situation is where this makes, you gross 37. So it's kind of like a big hit or a big miss, and it can kind of play out both ways. But just to see it from the business owner's perspective, is like, yeah, you lost $6,000. You made a bunch of money here. You got an email dialed in that works well on your house list. You can definitely use it again and again to your house list to make to make up the difference of what you lost on the buys. There's a few reasons this could happen. It doesn't mean you should necessarily give up. What I would do is just take. So in this scenario where we lost money, chances are some of these lists outperformed others. What I would do is I would try to buy the lists that performed well again, and then try again on the same list. Like say list A made $2,500 and the rest lost money or whatever, buy more list A. Go back to list A and say, hey, can we buy that list again? Like, we made money on that. Let's go buy it again with a smaller budget, acquire some more customers, make up the money on the back end with the email that's proven to work to the house list. So you're kind of circling the wagon on this, where as a freelancer, proposing this to a business owner, you really got to frame it like it's, hold on a sec, my computer is going to die. I need the chart. All right, sorry to cut myself off. So you're going to circle the wagon on this and make it a really good deal for them, because they're going to come out of this ahead in all cases. They're not paying you a lot of money up front. This is a bonus incentivized deal where it's really got to back out for them. They're going to acquire a lot of customers for free in order for you to get paid. They're going to make some money up front for you to get paid. They're going to make money to their house list and walk away from this with an email that's proven to work really well to their house list, or several emails that are proven to work really well to their house list. They can make money on those, even if they lose money on the drops or the buys. You can still make money from, say you buy 5 lists initially, one of them makes money, you go back to that list, buy that again and again until it doesn't make money anymore. So hopefully that covers everything. I talk pretty fast, I feel like, in this, but there's not a lot to this. The most important part is writing the email, getting the email dialed in, which is what this course is all about. How to write the emails, how to get the subject lines, how to test the subject lines, how to write the from names, and how to write or how to choose the images for it. So it's really all about writing and testing. You can do that as many times as you want, and you'll definitely hit gold eventually. The more you kind of invest in the writing process of this, the more it'll pay off when it's time to buy the list and get into this stuff here. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, I broke this into two parts, kind of what this is, then how to do it. Hopefully I covered everything. I probably forgot something along the way just because I was trying to cover a bunch of different angles and make sure everything was covered, but you know how it goes. So if I forgot something or if there's something you want to know, you can always reach out to me on Facebook and I'll be happy to answer, and I'll maybe even end up filming another segment like this. But yeah, I think it's a big niche in the freelancing copywriting world, a big opportunity for people to make some big money with just writing one email, getting it dialed in, repeating that process, and then rolling these out to cold traffic. And man, you could make a lot of money doing it, I think. And it's a big need for every direct response business. If you go up to a big business owner and say, hey, I want to acquire customers for you through email, very few of them are going to say no, especially if you frame it in a way where they don't lose anything or barely have to risk anything. You only get paid if you win. They only pay you if you win. So it's a win-win. All right, guys, cool. Enjoy the next video, and I'll talk to you later.